All right. Hello. Welcome to the third in our third episode in our webinar series on helping you grow your agency, presented by Crowdspring. I'm Jason. I've been hosting these events. We're talking about SEO, on-site, off-site, how to help your clients, how to understand this, because I know myself included, we have a lot of questions around this. We don't want to do it wrong. We know the penalties for doing it wrong. And so that's why we've got an awesome speaker today. We've got Matt. He's the VP of Strategy for NP Digital. This is Neil Patel's marketing agency. Obviously, we see him all over the web. And so there's a lot of authority in what they do, and really excited to dive into this with Matt. Matt, glad to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Jason. It's a pleasure to be here, man.
Absolutely. All right, so tell us maybe a little bit about NP Digital, and then let's get into your presentation. I think the structure of this is we have a presentation lined up for the next 20, 30 minutes where we're talking about the foundational principles here. Matt, take it away.
Awesome. To give you guys a little bit of background on NP Digital, like what Jason described earlier, we are the marketing brand of Neil Patel. We've been in business for I want to say a little bit as an overall conglomerate for a little bit over like 6 years now. We have offices all around the globe. Our headquarters are down in San Diego. We have offices in Utah, Brazil, the United Kingdom, Australia, Brazil, as well as India, and we're still growing. So we definitely are a global brand. Neil preaches a lot about doing international forms of marketing and targeting all countries if that's what your verticals call for. So been catering to two different segments of the market. We do cater to the enterprise, so massive Fortune 500 brands like the Googles, Facebooks, Microsofts of the world, as well as small to medium businesses. And a lot of what I'll be talking to you guys about today is how to really do SEO at a fundamental level for those small to medium businesses that your agencies may be catering to.
And that's a quick side note is that if you went to NP Digital, if you Google that, you're going to see it positioning more towards those larger companies like Microsofts of the world. NP Excel is your subset brand, where if you see that branding is much more geared towards the smaller businesses that we're helping our agency clients with.
Absolutely. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. We'll get started with the presentation. Like what Jason said, we want it to be interactive. So if you have any questions, anything that you want me to dive a little bit deeper into, please throw it into the chat, and I'd be more than happy to do that for you guys.
Perfect. Looking forward to it.
All right. So a holistic approach to SEO. Let's dive into it. So today I'm going to cover 3 core topics for you guys. Well, essentially 2, and then we'll have some questions and answers at the end. But within these 2 overall topics, there's going to be some subsets that help us dive deeper into different areas of SEO so that you feel like you do get a holistic idea of all the different target areas that make the biggest impact to driving positive rankings on Google or other search engines. So I'll start off with a little introduction, give you some context on some of our customers and case studies, and then we'll dive deep into doing SEO on lower budgets. So a little bit about myself. Like I said, I'm Matthew Santos. I'm the Vice President of Products and Strategy at NP Excel. I've been at the agency for coming on 3 years now, here at the beginning of the year. I've serviced the small to medium business vertical for close to 8 years, almost 9 years now. Very exciting market, very exciting segment and vertical to deal with. Just a lot of different situations and issues that people deal with at the small to medium business level. And it's, for me personally, it's very gratifying to help a very small business grow and add in new employees, add more offices because of our efforts. It's always a very rewarding situation there. I've interacted with thousands of different campaigns throughout those years in most of the major industries. So e-commerce, local, software as a service, blogger websites, affiliates, a lot of different verticals there. Here at NP Excel, I've been personally responsible for creating our entire suite of product offerings. You'll see on our website that we offer search engine optimization, conversion rate optimization, email marketing services, as well as paid media, pay-per-click. And currently, I am overseeing a department of over 40 digital marketing specialists that help cater to our customers. and help bring a lot of these campaigns to life. So it's a pleasure to be here with you guys. So like I said before, we do cater to a couple of different market segments. So here's a quick example of a customer that we've had for the last couple years here called Verheal. They are a national service brand. And you'll see some of the impact that we've had on their campaign from both an impression standpoint, which means eyeballs on Google's search engine pages, like how many times are people seeing them on those search engine result pages. You'll see that they increased by almost 200% there. And then also organic traffic. So we've helped increase their organic traffic by over 330%, which has had a massive impact on their bottom dollar at the end of the day. And that's everything that we want to focus on, is not only doing SEO to drive traffic, but also bring the right type of qualified customers that help bring up your ROI. We know at the end of the day, ROI for customers is a huge thing for an agency to focus on, and that's what helps maintain retention and bring some of those numbers up. So here's another one in the software as a service industry, Cario. We've had them for about the last year. You'll see right here that we've helped increase their impressions by almost 100%, so almost a doubling there. And their organic traffic has increased by over 130%. So they're receiving quite a bit of organic traffic a month. Here's another brand here, Disabled Person. They're more in the local space. This one's a brand that I'm pretty proud of, because they are a website that helps as a job board for disabled people to essentially find and place the job that fits them the best. And we've had some great results for them. You'll see their organic traffic has increased, their click-through rates have increased. So we've driven a lot more qualified traffic for them because they already had a lot of the market share in their industry. But for them, they were just getting a lot of noise and a lot of traffic that wasn't converting. And so a large part of our campaign focus for them was like click-through rate. And you'll see their click-through rate really shot up by over 40% there to start driving a lot more qualified traffic to their website. And the last one I want to show you is in the e-commerce space. We do a lot of work in the e-commerce space for small businesses, small to medium businesses. This is a customer, American AED CPR. They sell CPR courses and different products that assist with those courses. You'll see some dramatic spikes in some of their metrics here. Impressions shot up by over 700%. You'll see when they came to us, they were virtually at nothing. And over the course of the last year or so, they've really shot up in the search engine result pages to start overtaking a lot of market share and increasing their revenue in this market space. So some very exciting stats there. And I show you all that to let you know that like SEO really is a marathon. We've been there. We've done a lot of it. There's a formula. There's a method to the madness. But at the end of the day, it does take time. It does require some patience. It does require constant nurturing and constant adjusting and just consistency in your tactics. And so this is a quick snapshot of Neil Patel's analytics from neilpatel.com. And you'll see right here that like around the beginning of 2021, we were sitting at about 6 million visitors. Now I think we're averaging somewhere closer to about 10 million. But I show this graph to kind of tongue in cheek show you guys like different milestones of where we see as agencies that customers may fall off in the pipeline. And so a lot of people, after their first year of doing SEO, they do tend to want to give up. And as an agency, we have to really hold their hand and show them that, like, look, if you give up on this right now, sure, it may seem like you're not seeing some incredible results yet. But if you foster this and continue with it over time, after 2 years, you'll start to see a double effect. After 3 or 4 years, another doubling effect. And so, again, if you do things right, there's nearly a limitless amount of potential when it comes to search engine optimization of keywords that you can start taking over. And at the end of the day, our goal is to get you up to millions of visitors, if possible, if your industry and market share can be that big. So, again, it is a marathon. We've been there. We eat our own dog food. We practice a lot of what we preach, and it does work. We're here to tell you that.
So let's talk about this real quick. This graph, can you go back here? I mean,
Absolutely.
I think, you know, when we're trying to communicate this to our clients, I mean, most clients are not going to be with us for 4 years, right? So I mean, we can't tell them on day one, it's going to take 4 years for you to start seeing results. So
Exactly.
how do you keep this conversation nurtured? How do you go from, I think this is a great graph. It shows where we want to get to and where we're starting,
Yep.
but 4 to 5 years is a big commitment. So what's your
It is.
advice for us to have an agency, when they've invested 3 months and they're saying, okay, what are the early stage milestones and how do you convince them to stick with you longer?
Absolutely. So a large part of that conversation that I tend to impart, and also Neil Patel talks about this constantly, is that you do need to look as an agency, as a customer, at the omni-channel approach. So SEO is a great like more of an enablement type of medium that helps other channels. So what I mean by that is if I'm running paid media campaigns and SEO campaigns bounce off of each other extremely well if you know how to target them both for the same keywords and the same type of target audience. They can help accelerate each other. So we may show them a graph like this and say, look, if you just want to put all your eggs in one basket, which may be SEO, sure, it may take a long time. And we have to kind of tamper those expectations with you as a customer and make sure that you stay focused and know that there is an end goal in line, which again, it may take years. We are being realistic with you. We don't want to be like some of those dodgy agencies that may say, yeah, after 3 months, you're going to see some massive impact, which may not be the case. It may not be true. Now, omni-channel also impacts like email marketing, content marketing. Some of those services all help with SEO, and SEO helps with those in change. So having an omni-channel approach is one of the ways that we help talk to our customer about that and try our best to sell multiple products. But at the end of the day, some customers just come to us for SEO, and we have to let them know that, like, look, in this presentation, I'll show you guys a couple of the tactics that we use to keep people engaged throughout the process, because there are some quick wins that you can take advantage of. There are some long tail keywords that some of your biggest competitors may be targeting that for you may take years to overtake. But there's some long tail keywords that the competition may not be thinking about that for you may take a couple months to overtake. So there's a lot of conversation that we play around with there to show customers the value in sticking through with a tactic like SEO.
Got it. So I do want to get into that later. If you have more where you're talking about how we build that, and I think link building campaigns are part of that, right? I mean, one thing you guys do well is to have these link building campaigns where you're starting to see some early success. You're not at that multi-million, 5-year mark. I want to address something that we kind of jumped into this and it wasn't clear. We Ahmed and Justin pointed this out, and I appreciate it. I want to make sure we address it.
Yeah.
NP Digital is an agency.
Yes.
They offer a product. It's white labeled for agencies. This is why we invited them on. Is that they're not trying to get referrals directly from you. I mean, that's one option, I assume, but they have a product that you can white label for your solution. So if you're in branding, if you're in social media, if you're in a kind of a general consultant and management for agency for your clients, they're going to have a product that you can white label to then offer SEO services to your clients. Like we talked about in the first couple. So the first two, we talked about branding in our first webinar. In our second webinar, we talked about building and managing websites. And we talked about how you can take your agency that may not be focused in these areas where you may not have a interest and offer a product to your clients in order to help them reach their end goal. Their end goal is to increase their business. And that's what Matt mentioned very early on, is that we want to help our clients have a stronger ROI. And the way we do that is through our core services, which may be SEO or email marketing or general consulting. But we can also look for these other wins. And if our clients are coming to us and saying, I want to be ranked higher in Google, I want more people to find me, I want to have other alternatives of traffic other than paid or referral, that's where the SEO conversation comes in. So, what Matt was doing early on was not a sales pitch per se. He's trying to build some credibility with what they do as an agency and some of their case studies for the white label product that they can offer you guys as a service, much like our other conversations. So I just want to make that a little bit more clear. I don't think, Matt, sorry to interrupt with that, but I want to make that a little bit more clear very early on. Kind of your position, why we invited you here, why I think this is a great product. CrowdSpring ourselves, we do a lot of SEO and we're very particular about how we do that. but I like what you guys were doing. So hopefully that, if Justin and Ahmed, hopefully that makes it a little bit more clear. If it doesn't, feel free to chime in, but we are trying to add a lot of value to these in terms of educating on these topics.
Absolutely. So yeah, let's talk more about how we go about with those quick wins, like I was talking to you a couple of minutes ago, Jason. So what you're seeing on this graph right here is an example of some of the initial analysis that we may do when taking on a new customer or a new agency. Because again, we can do SEO services for an agency, so that agency can increase their presence online to attract more business. Or like what you were just saying, Jason, we can white label services for an agency that doesn't offer SEO and wants to start offering SEO because it's a complement to their marketing services.
Right.
So right here, you'll see a graph of a keyword profile for a specific customer. And in this keyword profile, I hovered over a specific section of the month of September. And what you'll see here is that this website is broken out from Google search engine ranking results into 4 core sections. So the green section is showing you keywords that are ranking between positions 1 to 3 on Google search engine result page. The yellow section, or more orange section, is showing you keywords that are ranking in position 4 to 10. The more yellowish section is basically 11 to 50, and then the dark orange is 51 and pretty much above. Okay. And so one of the core mistakes that a lot of people tend to make in an SEO campaign is that they don't put themselves as an agency in the seat of an expert with their customers, and they kind of let the customer drive the campaign. And while that can be good in some areas, it's not so good in the long run, because a customer has a wish list, and that's how we tend to talk to keyword segments. Is a customer's wish list keyword may be men's shoes. And while it's great for us to target the keyword men's shoes, we have some immense amount of competition on page 1 of Google for that. We have Amazon on there. We have JCPenney. We may have Foot Locker. We may have some massive brands that over time, if we do certain tactics correct, we can probably overtake. But in the short run, let's look at some of those long tail keywords that you're already ranking for that are in positions, basically in the red box that I outlined here, positions 4 all the way up to about position 50. That's what we call low-hanging fruit or striking distance. Those are keywords that Google has already seen your customer's website as authoritative for, as relevant for. And if you apply a little bit of optimization, a little bit of love and touch to that page or those keywords, you're going to bubble right up to page 1, if not right up to positions 1 to 3, and start taking that market share from some of your competition. And having an approach like this is one of the ways that we kind of ease into that conversation, Jason, of the question that you asked me earlier on. Customers may look at that graph and say, geez, I don't have 5 years to achieve my goals. I want goals in the next couple months. If you take a strategy like this and target some low-hanging fruit that over time can start bringing hundreds, if not thousands, of new visitors to your website a month by going from position 10 to position 2, or going from position 15 to position 2 or 1, that can have a dramatic effect in a very short term for a customer of an agency.
And I want to make sure at some point you're going to show us how we find these kind of low-hanging fruit keywords, I assume? Or do you have some resources you can share now?
I do have some resources that I can share with you guys. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So
is it in the presentation, or should we talk about it now just while we're on the topic?
So yeah, so in conjunction with this right here, this slide right here, so you can use a tool that Neil has called Ubersuggest. It's completely free based on the type of plan that you want to choose, but we do have a free version of it where you can make a lot of waves, in all honesty, whether you want to use it as an agency or your customers want to use it on their own. Ubersuggest is a great tool to use for keyword research. But essentially with a tool like Ubersuggest, you can go through and look at what keywords your domain is ranking for. So you'll see one of this first column, this fourth column right here, missed away systems. Let's say that's your customer's website. That's going to show you a bunch of keywords and what position they are ranking in. And then you can also look at 3 or 5 or however many competitors you want to look at as well, and basically do a cross segment of those and just say, okay, my website is ranking for all these keywords. The customer's website or the competition's website is all ranking for these type of keywords. Where are my gaps? Like, where are they ranking well for and gaining an immense amount of traffic that I've never thought about before because I never built content around that keyword? Or where are we both targeting something and they're barely beating me out? How can I go look at their webpage and figure out ways to skyscraper them and kind of one up them on the SERP and make a better experience than what they're creating for the customer base? So using a tool like Ubersuggest to create a sort of document like this can help you quickly segment through some of that low-hanging fruit topic that I mentioned before.
You used the term skyscraper. Can you elaborate on?
Absolutely.
What you mean there?
So in marketing and in SEO, when we use the term skyscraper, it may mean, look, you have a blog that's targeting, let's take one of these keywords right here, biting gnats, right? So if you offer some sort of mist system that gets rid of bugs and flies from your patio, let's say you wrote a blog about that topic, your competition probably has a similar blog. So going and reading what they've written, and the skyscraper approach is basically one-upping them and saying, look, if they wrote on these topics and they kind of finished and didn't expand on something, how can I go one step forward and one step further and really expand on that and give the audience what they may be asking for? So looking at your competition and seeing what they're doing and just doing better than them has an immense amount of impact in an SEO realm, because in all honesty, Google knows that no one is really saying anything brand new unless you're in a complete white space industry that's never been around before. But some of these industries that have been around for decades, you just got to start becoming creative and trying to skyscrape your competition and just one-upping them in everything that they're doing.
Perfect.
So I talk about keywords as just a precursor to how you want to think and structure your SEO campaigns, because every SEO campaign starts with what keywords are you going to target. Keywords are going to predicate a lot of the type of work that you're going to do. But there are three core building blocks that I'm going to talk briefly about with you guys today so that you guys understand what are the three segments of SEO that can be sold, and what are the needs that agencies versus customers may have in these three different segments, and how do they impact one another. And I put these in this order for a very specific reason, because technical SEO is the foundation of everything in an SEO realm. And the reason why I say that is one very clear example that I usually give. You can have the greatest content on your website, which may convert at the highest percentage ever in history. But if that page cannot be indexed by Google or doesn't load in the proper amount of time in accordance to somebody's patience level, then it means nothing, So technical SEO is what we put at the forefront of every campaign that we launch, and make sure that within the first couple months, we are handling a lot of these technical issues, because we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot down the road by building incredible content, getting great links pointing back to our customer's website. But then when people land on that page, the page doesn't render correctly, or it loads in 30 seconds or something ridiculous, right? So let's talk a little bit about technical SEO for a second. So when it comes to technical SEO, you've heard me say in the past couple minutes a lot about like site speed and page experience. And that's a lot of where Google's search engine algorithm is moving in the direction of, is trying to improve what results are coming up for users on Google based on the experience that other users have had on those pages. So site speed is one of the quickest ways to indicate how great of an experience someone may or may not have on your webpage, because we as people are just continuing to become more and more impatient with the internet. We want things to load lightning quick. We want things now. And so what you'll see here is a quick graph from Ubersuggest. You can run a light audit through Ubersuggest to get this type of data. And what you'll see here is like my desktop version is loading lightning quick. It's within 2 seconds on most servers. They can have a page loaded on of my website. But mobile, in this example, is suffering a little bit. You'll see mobile's at about 6 seconds. So from a technical standpoint, Google search engine is now what we refer to as a mobile search engine, meaning that your mobile version of your website is where most of the ranking factors are going to be pulled from now. It's no longer from the desktop, which is a dramatic shift. And so you want to make sure that your site speed from a mobile perspective for both your agency website as well as your customers' websites are optimized to the T. Because if web pages aren't loading correctly, like I said before, a lot of traffic is going to bounce. Along with that, in Uber Suggest, you can run a full technical audit to just get an understanding, at least on a minimal level, of, okay, how many pages do I have? So in this example, I have 149 pages on my website. I'm a small to medium business website. I have about 23 critical errors and I have about 169 warnings. So what do I do with all that information? What can I take away from it? How do I start tackling these issues? And within Uber Suggest, there's a lot of information that can be had, but obviously partnering with an agency to really take care of some of that information for you is also extremely beneficial, because I'll show you in a slide here in a couple seconds. Technical SEO is one of the toughest things for people to handle on their own, and they love to outsource that to agencies. So it's a great way for agencies to attract businesses by having a strong technical SEO offering of some sort. Also, from a technical standpoint, if any of you have been paying attention to the SEO industry in the past year, there has been a dramatic new algorithm update that Google has launched called Core Web Vitals. And this is the way that Google has started to interpret user experience. And so as an agency, we've done a lot of work in coming out with a very succinct product and methodology on how to help websites from a technical standpoint improve their core web vital metrics. And so Core Web Vitals is incredibly technical. It has a lot to do with how quickly your page is loading. It has a lot to do with content layout shifts. So if you have JavaScript on your web pages, and as your web page loads, if I go to click a button, but then all of a sudden some JavaScript loads instead and that button moves and I click on something else that I didn't want to click on, that's a poor user experience. So we got to fix things like that. And so there's a lot of stuff with Core Web Vitals that a lot of customers need to lean on an agency in order to get a lot of that handled. So with all that being said,
this is foundational, real quick, this is foundational work, but it's also kind of that low-hanging fruit as well, right? You're going to see some immediate gain by making sure that your house is clean and everything's in order and Google's happy with your Core Web Vital score.
Absolutely, Jason. And along those lines, like partnering with an agency, whether it's you guys that I'm speaking to or us at NP Digital, part of what customers come to an agency for is they need prioritization. Like most people can go to Uber Suggest or some of the other SEO tools out there and run an audit, but then they get inundated with all this data and they're like, they go into paralysis mode and they don't know what to tackle, what's going to have the biggest impact, what's the low-hanging fruit, what's going to be kind of a low programming tactic, but also has a high impact on SEO, or what's a high programming tactic that I just can't handle because I'm not a programmer, right? And so as an agency, we have to make sure that we're helping prioritize and sift through all that noise. And here's an example of how Uber Suggest does it for people. So for instance, if you have duplicate tags within your code, if you have pages that take a long time loading, if you're missing elements, if you have broken pages on your website. So all of these things are impacting user experience in some way, shape, or form. The tool right here can start helping you understand, like, what is the difficulty of tackling something like this, and what can be the possible SEO impact? Is this going to be something that's going to take me absolute hours, but barely even moves the needle? Or is this something that I should invest time in because it's going to have a dramatic impact, like Jason said, and can be low-hanging fruit? So prioritization is key when it comes to technical SEO. And real quick, I'll share this deck out with you guys after this. I'll put it through Jason. But here's a quick checklist for you guys. You guys can use a checklist like this for your own website, for your agency website, as well as for your customers. This is obviously a very short list out of dozens, if not hundreds of issues that can come up. But these issues that I've placed right here tend to have some of the highest impact in generating positive results in a quick time frame for your customers. So making sure your pages can be crawled and indexed, making sure that you don't have any site speed issues, making sure that you have a mobile-friendly website, because like I said before, Google's algorithm is now a mobile-first algorithm. It doesn't really look at your desktop anymore. It only looks at your mobile version. Ensuring that you don't have any broken pages or duplicate content or any duplicate meta information.
So let's talk about a couple of these real quick. So mobile-friendly site, what does that mean in 2021? Because every site, can loads at least on a smartphone. What are you meaning here when you say mobile-friendly? Is there more of a technical definition we should be looking at?
Absolutely. So a lot of websites nowadays, they focus on building the desktop version. They design out the desktop version in their mockups and wireframes. They get developers to create the desktop version, and they kind of put mobile to the back burner, which we got to start shifting that mindset. We have to start looking at not only the desktop version, but designing it for mobile. So what I mean by that is on mobile, your font tends to be a little bit larger than it would be on desktop, because on a phone with only so much real estate, we want to make sure that we're adjusting for some of the eyeballs that are going to be reading that content and making sure it doesn't seem like fine print. Buttons may be a little bit larger than normal. The shift and layouts of your pages are going to be drastically different than desktop, because on desktop you have a very wide real estate. On mobile, it's a very vertical, linear type of real estate. So you're looking at two different types of experiences that you're building, and you want to make sure that your mobile version isn't just your desktop version compressed down to the size of a phone and making people zoom into everything, right? You want to make sure that you have a specific mobile experience.
That's great. Yeah. So if we default, to using our computer, we should definitely look at our client site on mobile and see if we can interact with it. I think that's the ultimate test, right? Is it something, can I read this as the client? Because it goes back to ROI, right? It goes back to helping clients actually create sales. And if I can't engage, or it's a poor experience, we want to make sure that's fixed. What can you say about duplicate pages and duplicate metadata? Is this something that, a tool like Uber suggests, or other, SEO audit tools, are they showing us pages that Google feels are duplicate in their content?
Absolutely. So if I go back to this one right here for prioritization, you'll see right here, the top one is saying 12 pages with duplicate title tags. You may have 80 pages with no meta descriptions, or maybe duplicate meta descriptions. But again, when it comes to this type of stuff, you want to make sure that you don't have too much duplication across your website, because it affects two things. From the search engine standpoint, the robots that are coming through and crawling your website, they're not seeing much of value. They feel like, okay, people are being a little bit lazy here. They're copy pasting all across the website. They're not creating unique experiences across each page. And that then translates into user experience, as real humans are coming to your website and they're noticing that, well, I was just on your homepage and I read this paragraph. Now I'm on your product page. I'm reading the same paragraph. Like, did you really put time into this? Do you really care? There's a little bit of subliminal messaging there. And so you want to make sure that you don't have too much duplication across your website. Obviously, a little bit is fine. But to some extreme standpoints, like if over 20 or 30% of your website is duplicate, you'll really want to make sure that you're going to those pages, providing unique content, rewriting some of that, because it's going to help the search engine. It's going to help user experience. And at the end of the day, it should help conversions and ROI.
Yeah, I think that's one of the trends, right, that is coming around, is that Google is attempting in an algorithm setting to mimic what we're looking for as humans, right? We want to see value on each of these pages. We want things to load fast. We want them to be readable. We don't want elements on the page moving around at the last second when we're trying to click them, right? I mean, it's basic. I think you can score pretty well. Obviously, there's a lot of technical things you're going to dive into, or offsite and onsite, but you can score pretty well just by building a site that functions the way you and I would want to interact with it as people.
Absolutely. We always say put the human mindset first. Like, don't optimize just for the search engine. Optimize for your audience, and the search engine will follow, I promise. So along with that, something I really wanted to hone in on at the end of each one of these sections for you guys today is, like, why is this important for you as an agency, and why is it important for your customers? So from a technical SEO perspective, as an agency, you can have the most, like I said earlier, you can have the most compelling copy in the industry. But if your pages cannot be crawled by a search engine and cannot be indexed, then it's pretty much all for nothing. And it's pretty sad. I see it all the time. Also, technical SEO has a direct impact on user experience on a website. So we want to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward for both the users and the search engine as an agency. So again, to get more of that market real estate and get more customers attracted to your agency, you want to make sure that your website is loading as quick as possible, doesn't have any of the technical issues I was talking about, has a mobile friendly version, and you should start doing a lot better in the search engines. Then from a customer standpoint, for your customers, why is this important? It's extremely rare that any small to medium business has the technical chops to handle technical SEO on their own, in all honesty. And I put the second bullet in there because even if they do have an internal development team, whether it's 1, 2, 5 developers, I promise you, those developers aren't just sitting around twiddling their thumbs waiting for an agency to give them direction on technical SEO. They already have projects that they're focused on. They already have sprints and timelines and deadlines that they're focusing on. And so if you give them technical SEO on top of all that, it's probably going to fall to the back burner. And so you want to make sure as an agency, you're offering some of those services to kind of ease that pressure off of your customer and make them feel like, look, you keep working on what you're working on and let us as experts take care of your technical SEO, because we understand that there's a lot of noise. You require prioritization. You want to make sure that you have experts handling this because it can have a dramatic impact on your SEO campaign.
Perfect.
All right, let's talk about OnSite. So now that we've set a little bit of foundation with technical SEO, let's say we have all of that cleaned up. We have a lot of those high priority issues fixed by this point. Now it's time for us to dive into what are the on-site factors that people are interacting with on your website that help them understand who your brand is, what you do, why you're different, and help them convert at the end of the day. So from an on-site perspective, there's a wheel here for me to show you a little bit of a breakdown of some of the process that we take at NP Digital to help optimize a page for a search engine and a user, okay? So the first thing we do, like I mentioned before, is obviously keyword research. We want to make sure that we're targeting the best possible keywords to not only bring eyeballs to the website, but also bring that qualified traffic that's going to help convert and bring ROI for our customers. So after we're done with the keyword research, we start doing a little bit of meta tag optimization. So a meta tag is essentially, if you can imagine right here in the image that I have, obviously it's a blurred out image of a Google search engine result page. So normally what we're interacting with is like this blue text up here that we click on to go to a website. That's a title tag. We want to make sure that we're optimizing those title tags to help drive more clicks to a website. We want to have a keyword in there. We want to have the brand name in there. We want to make sure that we have enticing information, some sort of call to action to make people feel like I typed in a question, or I have a concern, or I need a solution, or I have a problem, and that's why I came to Google. When I see that title tag, I feel like you're about to answer or give me the solution that I need, you know? A meta description, that's another part of meta tags. So the text below that blue link, the little paragraph down there that gives you a little snippet, a little taste, a teaser of what you're about to come and interact with on our page, we want to make sure that we're optimizing that as well. To make sure that, again, we're giving you a call to action, we have keywords in there, we're making users feel like we are truly experts to help them solve their question or their concern that they came to Google for that day. So meta tag optimization is an incredibly important part of on-site optimization. From there, we want to make sure that we're optimizing headers. So on a page, we know that each section of content should have a nice, big, bold header to tell them, what is this next piece of content that you're about to interact with? Like, what is it about? What is the overall thesis or aim of that content? So having good headers on your page that help include keywords, good information, that can not only help users, but also help search engines better index your pages. Going after image optimization. This is a good one because a lot of people tend to start their search with images, and based on an image, they may end up on your website. So make sure that your images are compressed so they're not affecting load times. Make sure that we're putting what's called an image alt tag, so a little piece of text on that image, because still to this day, Google's algorithm cannot look at an image and know what it is. It needs a little piece of code behind it, a little string of text that says cat jumping on hood of car. So it can actually know that that image is a cat jumping on a hood of a car. You know, so we want to make sure that we're optimizing your images on your pages. Also, schema. This is something that kind of falls into the technical SEO realm as well as the on-site SEO realm. Schema is a way of taking a piece of text on your page and wrapping it in a special type of code to show Google that this information is honestly more important than the rest of the information on the page. And we really want you as the search engine to hone in on it to help our ranking. So schema is something that is a little bit more of an advanced topic, but we tend to do for almost every single one of our campaigns because it can have a massive impact on an SEO campaign. Content optimization, obviously making sure your content is up to par, it's up to date. There's no broken elements in your content. There's no any sort of weird jargon in there or punctuation issues. We want to make sure your content is obviously your best foot forward. And lastly, we rinse and repeat. So every month we're going through different pages and we're doing these different on-site optimization touches to make sure that your website is as optimized as possible.
So I want to hit number 4, image optimization, real quick to give some examples here. I'm not sure what industry all these agencies are helping, but maybe we can provide a couple examples. One thing that I'm finding the way we use this, because this I think is maybe a more advanced or a different way of using Google. I mean, we know the normal way is to go to the search bar and hit enter, but you can also click over to images and do a search. Or upload an image. And I find, Matt, we were talking about me building a house right now. I have a picture in my mind of something I'm looking for, and I'll type that into an image search for a product or a tool that I'm looking for because I don't know the exact name or something. And then you get all these results that come up. And it's fascinating how different the results in image search can be sometimes from the text base. And a lot of times I can find what I'm looking for quicker going to an image-based search. And it's like, yes, that is what I'm looking for. It matches the picture in my mind. I click through and what are some use cases for this to get people to think? I mean, part of this could be, well, definitely from an e-commerce perspective, right? Where you're selling a product. Are there others that you've seen that are fun campaigns to optimize for imagery? Because I can imagine this is also some low-hanging fruit if folks in your industry are not putting the proper tags and optimizing their images.
Absolutely. So e-commerce is definitely number one, like you mentioned. It's one of the easiest to find a correlation between those two. Some of the other fun ones that we've interacted with were like software as a service, interesting enough, because sometimes when people are looking for a particular software, they want to feel like they're interacting with the software before they jump into a demo or a free trial or even purchase it. So myself, I've done this all the time. I go into the image section, I start looking at different dashboards and different screens of a software. And then once I see something that's like gorgeous and appealing and has everything I want, I'll click on that and land on their website and then interact with that software and maybe sign up for a free trial. Another example is local. So a lot of local entities can be found through image optimization and image search engines. So if you're doing some sort of marketing for restaurants or food brands, like a lot of people want to look at the food and see what they're about to go eat or interact with before they go to that restaurant. And so going into the image library of a website and optimizing it to make sure that you actually put chicken parm or eggplant parm, and actually putting that behind the image so that you can show up and show people, look how gorgeous my platter is. They may end up at your restaurant because of that. So it is a more roundabout way for people to find you, but you want to make sure that you're capitalizing on all these different ways so that there's more avenues for people to find you.
Perfect. Yeah, I think it really just comes down to knowing your client, either your business or your client's business. I mean, as a marketer, one thing I'm always doing is looking at, landing pages, looking at different, something very specific, welcome landing page. And I'm going to, best welcome landing page. And I'm going to look for an image search for something like that. So if you're offering, these types of services or your clients are, it's a perfect way to get in there. Okay.
Absolutely. Another thing I want to lightly touch on is content refreshing. This is something that we found is a little bit of like a secret sauce for our agency. I know more people are starting to do this now, but here's a graph that shows some data of over the last 4 to 5 years, how have bloggers, which are obviously a very content heavy niche, and there's a lot of competition there. How have they started to separate themselves from the competition? And one way was by going back into existing or old content and refreshing it. And refreshing it may mean bringing it back up to industry standards, adding some new updates that may have come out in the last few years, removing information that may be out of date, sprucing up the article, removing some fluff that may have been in there because you hired some writer back in the day that didn't really know your industry. And so they kind of were just writing words for the sake of words. So going back and refreshing content is something that from an on-site perspective can have a dramatic increase in your search engine rankings. So real quick, like I did before, here's a priority checklist of everything we just discussed for you to take advantage of as both an agency and a customer base. So making sure that you have good keyword inclusion throughout all those different pages based on the keyword research that's done, ensuring that meta tags and header tags are optimized as well as image tags, implementing that schema code that I said is a little bit more of an advanced topic, but helps drive some pretty great results, making sure you're adding content, refreshing content, a consistent blogging cadence, and making sure that your pages are internally linked between each other. And again, why is this important? So for you as an agency, OnSite Factors are some of the most important ranking factors out of the 200 plus that Google may have for you to start driving more traffic to your website. So if you want to rank and generate more business, you need to have a solid on-site experience. And that's based on everything I was talking about earlier, as well as consistently blogging and putting content out there so people can start to see you as a thought leader within your own space. For your customers, it is fairly similar. So most small to medium businesses do not have the time to manage their own blogs or refresh their existing content or optimize pages or even know what to do and how to optimize. They don't know what keywords to really target. They don't know what sections to really focus on. So they need that hand, that expertise to guide them and pretty much do it for them so that they can focus on their business. Also, most customers do not fully understand all that it takes to really optimize a page. So they may think they're checking off a few boxes, but they're missing out on some massive high impact opportunities because they're not the experts. So all of those on-site factors can impact their rankings, but they may be ignoring them out of just innocence. So these are all different reasons why on-site ranking factors and on-site SEO should be a core focus for you as an agency as well as your customers. And lastly, let's talk about link building, OffSite optimization. So OffSite optimization, I put it at the top because it is kind of the cherry on top. A lot of businesses want to start with link building immediately. It may not have the best technical experience on their website. They may not have the best content on their website. And you want to make sure that you are touching those things kind of before, in a sense, so that you make sure that if you build a link and that link starts driving traffic to your website, that new traffic isn't just bouncing because they're having a poor experience, right? So we want to make sure we build that great experience. Then we start focusing on some link building here. So
and the key for selling that is really, because you mentioned clients want to start with that, and as agencies we're trying to lead the conversation, but our clients are also going to be a little bit wary. They're not going to want us to spend 3 months, because these technical on-site changes can take a little bit of time, and they're going to be, our clients could be a little bit jaded, thinking, okay, you're just trying to stretch this out, right? You're just trying to get me to spend 3-6 months to do something I didn't plan on doing before I get to do the thing that I want to do, which is link building that everybody's talking about. But I think you've already laid out. We just have to remember what you've said and pitch this in a way that we're trying to build this foundation first. Yes, you might not be aware of things like schema and image optimization, but this is all going to make our link building investment stronger. It's going to have a stronger return.
It is. And by a stronger return, what you inevitably mean there, Jason, is like your links will be stickier. And in SEO, we want to make sure that when we build a link, it hopefully lasts for months and years to come. But most of the time when a link drops off after a couple months because that third-party publisher removed the link, it's because they probably went to your website and saw, ooh, I don't want to be linking to this website. Like, it doesn't load fast. It has some weird JavaScript elements. It looks spammy. It doesn't have good content. Everything's duplicated. And so they're going to remove the link. And so the effort and the payment that your customer just put forward is kind of wasted in a sense. Obviously, a lot of us as agencies do a good job of sifting through the customers and signing on what we think are good brands, good products, good websites. So they already have a fairly good foundation. They may need some tweaking in those other areas. So you can start with link building right off the bat. But let's say you're taking on a brand new brand that doesn't have anything. It may be tougher to generate links immediately. You can try, but it may be a little bit tougher without some of those foundational elements. So right here, I wanted to give you guys a couple of touch points on what we do to focus on quality links and how we go about with our link building tactics. Everything we do is based on like guest blog posting in an organic sense. We want to make sure that we're sticking to Google's guidelines. Link building can be a very messy area sometimes if it's not done correctly. So you want to make sure that you partner with experts, because you don't ever want to get penalized by Google for doing something wrong in the link building space. So again, we want to make sure we're aligning on those keywords and the URLs that we're focusing on for our customers, to make sure that we're going out and finding third-party websites that align with that or relevant to those keywords. We don't want a random website. Like if I'm in the SaaS space, I don't want links from a dog training website. It just doesn't make any sense. That's not going to improve my authority. We then want to make sure that we're conducting a link analysis to ensure that our customers' link profiles are looking as clean as possible, and also going out to our competition and seeing where are they gaining links from. That may be some low-hanging fruit that we can obtain some similar links from those third-party websites. From there, we want to make sure we identify websites to contact, because again, all of this is organic. A lot of this is based on us finding websites for the first time, reaching out to them, starting some conversations, fostering a relationship there, and then starting to send them content so that their publishers can look it over and post it on their website and drive a link back to our customer's website. So in that process, you'll see step 4 is conducting that outreach to those websites and having some email conversations, some social media conversations, pitching topics to them of content that we have written on behalf of our customers that we want posted on those third-party websites. And then next thing you know, we send it over, the publisher accepts it, and a link gets published, and we basically rinse and repeat. And we sometimes ask customers to promote those links on social media to show that they're proud of being featured on a third-party website in their industry. So this is a little bit of our just being forthcoming with all of our steps that we take in our link build process. With link building, there's a little bit of a hack that we understand that can really help accelerate the results that you gain from link building, because a lot of people think that all of their links should just be posted to their homepage. So if I have a link on Forbes.com or I have a link on entrepreneur.com, a lot of people make the mistake and just put their homepage as the link. And in reality, if that article is about something very specific, you want to make sure that they're posting that link to that product page or to that service page or to that specific blog post on your website, because that's going to drive a better user experience. Why drop somebody on your homepage and then have them go surf around for where they were initially coming from that pointed to, in essence, the topics correlated to one another? But instead of sending them to the product page, you sent them to the homepage. Now they got to go find your product page. So right here is a quick example of Macy's.com. You'll see that, like I was just saying, about 3 million visitors a month are going to the homepage. And then as you go deeper, you have several hundreds of thousands of visits. But look at the backlink portfolio for some of these pages. And this is a quick snapshot of an example of Ubersuggest showing you a backlink analysis. So this page right here, jewelry watches for men, it only has about 13 links pointing to it, but it has almost 400,000 visitors coming to it. You see? Another one over here, 316 links, 11 links, 166 links. These aren't a crazy amount of links like the homepage that has 22,000. But look at how by building links to those deeper level pages can help impact the number of visitors coming to your website each month. And so we do this for our customers as well. We make sure that we're not just pointing, because it helps build that authority a lot quicker.
I think this is great. I mean, this snapshot really shows how easy it can be with high quality links for our clients, right? For agency clients, because when you're trying to sell this to your client, and it's going to take multi-years or multi-months, to start seeing some results, you're showing, look, our goal is not, hundreds of links to some of your product pages. It's a handful of maybe hard to get, but strong quality authoritative links. I want to make sure that we're backing up real quick the value of a link. The value of a link. Maybe you can talk just for a minute on why we're linking. What does that mean for why do we care about links?
Absolutely. So this checklist touches on that a little bit, and then this section right here will also touch on that. So
perfect. I'll wait.
Let me talk about that for a second there, Jason, because you bring up a good point. Like, the value of a link, first and foremost, is like what Jason just said. It's not quantity, it's quality. So you want to make sure that you're focusing on websites that are niche and relevant to your industry and getting links from those websites. You want to make sure that you're pitching to those third-party websites high quality content that they will be proud to post on their blog, on their website, and then link back to you. So having these types of approaches helps boost what that link is doing for you, because Google can see that this was organically generated. This was fostered through a great relationship between two businesses in a very similar industry. This is something that is obviously, it's like a vote. We look at a link like a vote. And so the more quality links that you have, the better your website's going to be in the search engines in accordance to your competition. So you want to make sure that you're also building links to those deeper pages, because that's also going to boost the value of what that link is driving to you. So,
and it helps Google find the page, right? So if you have a site, remember, Google isn't the internet, right? So you're not uploading your site to Google. Yeah. Google has to find it. Google has to crawl it, which is termed for reading it and understanding the changes that are made. The fewer links that you have, the fewer opportunities Google gets to come to your site to see the changes that you've made. Especially if you have a smaller site, Google's not dedicating resources to constantly crawl your site. So they need different opportunities, different links, different avenues to come to your site. So the more of these links that you have coming in, more opportunities Google's going to be able to see some of these changes that you make. Otherwise, you just got a website in a vacuum. You're going to have to pay for that traffic or direct people to it.
You're spot on, Jason. Absolutely spot on. So as an agency, the reason why link building should be important for you is, in all honesty, I've been around the agency game for quite a while now. I've worked for several different agencies, and I know this firsthand. A lot of agencies struggle to consistently maintain their link profiles and offsite ranking factors. So, but to their credit, in all honesty, it's not a simple task. Like, link building is a very manual process. It's something that you have to stay on top of constantly. You need to be always looking for more websites and creating relationships and writing new content and submitting it to publishers, and kind of getting pie on your face sometimes, because some publishers may just say no. And then you got to kind of take all that time you just wasted on one publisher and apply it to a new publisher and just keep the system going all the time. And so it is a tedious tactic. It's something that takes time, and a lot of agencies don't really want to spend time on that. But again, placing trust in a partner that follows all of Google's guidelines can ease a ton of stress when it comes to building out that link profile for your agency. And it's kind of similar for a customer. It's extremely rare that any customer comes to an agency and, number one, has a full understanding of everything it takes to build a good link, but then on top of that, has a consistency of attracting links to their own domain. So most customers, link building is the number one thing that they're willing to outsource at the quickest rate. It has like the lowest barrier to entry, because most customers know that they need to be careful because they can be penalized. So they want to choose a trusted partner. And again, it's not just for that customer to gain a link. They understand that it's a means to an end for them to gain more traffic, for them to gain more ROI, for them to improve their rankings. And they want to make sure that they're building them on a consistent basis. So leaning on an agency is like one of the easiest things for customers to do when it comes to link building. All right.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate it, Matt. That was great. Yeah, we've got some questions here. So Ralph is talking about budget, as an agency, talking to our clients. I assume this is, from an agency pitching to their clients, yes. But it could also be an agency, thinking about investing in this as well. Yes. Let's talk about what the expectations for budget would be. And obviously you've broken this down by a few different areas. So maybe you can talk about, kind of the early stage, a new brand, or one that is having, that hasn't paid any attention, kind of that foundational work.
Yep.
That on-site, what's some budget, what's some timing, and then maybe some more of these ancillary growth campaigns.
Good question. So we do try and take a different approach in regards to other agencies. Most other agencies will just ask for a budget and then just build your campaign based on the budget you gave them. But what they don't understand is that that budget may be way too low for your competition, or maybe way too high for your own margins, and you can't even fulfill the whole contract because you may kind of go broke by paying that budget. So what we do at NP Digital is we do this for ourselves, and we consult other agencies on doing this when we white label for them, is we try and tell them SEO should be somewhere around 3 to 5% of your annual revenue. So again, based on how much annual revenue your customers are making, take about 3 to 5% of that. And that's what your annual contract should be and then divide that up by 12. So lower budgets for us are essentially a couple $100 a month up to about $1,000, all the way up to about $3,000 to $4,000 a month. That's a fairly low budget campaign.
Yeah, and so I like that. 3 to 5 is nice. But what's the why, right? So it's easy for us to go to a client and say, okay, 3 to 5% of your budget, is going to be devoted to SEO, and the client's going to say, well, why? Yep. And can you help us understand kind of, I guess it's based on experience, right?
It is based on experience. Like I said before, between all of us, between Neil, myself, and others, we have decades of experience combined. We've all managed thousands of campaigns. And what we've seen is that most brands, no matter how big or large you are, should be spending about 10% of their annual revenue on marketing as a whole. We take 3 to 5% of that on SEO because, again, SEO should be one of your greatest marketing mediums because it has the greatest potential for ROI down the road. And so the 3 to 5% is based on, at 3%, it's kind of saying, look, this is probably the bare minimum you should be spending, because if you spend anything less than this, your competition is probably just going to continue owning you, and you're just throwing drops in the ocean at that point, okay? At 5%, we probably don't want to go above 5% because we're now eating into budget for other marketing mediums, and also we may be eating too far into your margins as a business. So depending on what your take home is, your profit is, we don't want to eat so far into that profit with just SEO that you can't even fulfill a 12-month campaign. You're going to cancel after 4 months because, again, you're eating too far into your profits. So that 3 to 5% is a sweet window for us, and we tend to generate the greatest results there. We have great retention, low churn. It just helps on a lot of regards.
Nice. And so as agencies owners, we can say, look, we've done this research from others. We don't have to say if we're white labeling your service. We don't have to. We can. In the past sessions, we've said, look, we're adding value as an agency. Tools don't make you an expert, right? Design tools don't make you a designer. SEO tools don't make you an SEO expert. As we're saying to small business owners. So we can tell them, hey, we're relying on NP Excel and this is product. We add value on top, and through all of their research, they found this 3 to 5%. Really appreciate that. I think that's helpful. Let's get to Anthony's question on how do you compete with national brands who dominate your target area in SEO and PPC, for example, in the commercial real estate space.
Yep.
Is it possible to outrank them organically for keywords like commercial real estate?
And see, that's the trick. And this is where I was talking earlier about tampering expectations around wish list keywords. Because if you're going to go after commercial real estate, you are going to burn so much money. I'm not saying don't do it. You still should. But your core focus should be on those low-hanging fruit, long-tail keywords that the massive brands are not targeting because they don't feel like that's going to bring them enough traffic. But for you, that traffic could mean the difference. So an example of that may be, instead of targeting commercial real estate and putting all my money on that, I'm only going to segment maybe 10% of my dollars on commercial real estate. But the other 90% of my dollars are going to be focused on commercial real estate in Atlanta, Georgia, or commercial estate investing tips. So those type of long tail keywords, someone like, I don't know, 21st Century or some of those larger brands, they may not even be looking at that. And also the beauty of targeting those keywords is those keywords aren't so high on the sales funnel or the research funnel. They're probably more towards the middle or bottom, which means that if somebody comes to your website and they're at that phase of the sales funnel, they're going to convert a lot quicker. There's going to be less.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. Commercial real estate is like the hardest one to get in this industry as a term, but it's also the highest level, like the lowest intent. Yep. You've got people who are, students looking to get into this as a career. You've got people actually looking for commercial real estate. You've got people just Googling the term. Like there's so much noise in a term like that, but it's also the most expensive.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely.
And the keyword tools help you find these to find something that makes the most sense,
Absolutely.
Right? So maybe tips is an area you want to
Absolutely. So going into Uber Suggest, typing in commercial real estate, you're going to get a list of literally thousands of keywords that are in that same space that are more long tail. They'll show you how competitive the keyword is. They'll show you how much search volume it may bring you. And again, some of these keywords may only have a monthly search volume of like 10 to 100. But remember, I would rather bring 100 people who are ready to convert today to my website than 10,000 who are going to convert in a year. So
Exactly.
That's the way you want to look at tackling some of these massive national brands and huge.
And you're still going to get credit for commercial real estate,
Oh, yeah.
right? So if you're, as Anthony mentions, if you're going after commercial real estate tips,
Yes.
you're still going to get some credit for the term commercial real estate, maybe get bumped up over time.
Absolutely.
And as the business grows, you can decide, look, 5 years from now, we're done with kind of these smaller long tail tips.
Yep.
We're actually going to focus solely on, the main term and devote more money to that. But you've laid a nice foundation.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And like what you just said, Jason, and over the course of those 5 years in your example, Google has seen that you've taken all this market real estate and all this share, and they're just like, you guys are definitely authoritative. You guys are definitely relevant. So yeah, let's rank you for commercial real estate. It's time.
Yep. Justin asked about the white label services, costs, how to implement. Can you direct us? I guess what's the URL maybe to learn more about that, and you can talk a little bit if you want.
Definitely. So I'll have to go dig for the exact URL. I know Jason, John Hoft, he would probably be the best person to put you guys in contact with. He is our vice president over white label and strategic partnerships. So he can help guide you guys through those conversations, give you guys some collateral, some material, some cost structures. So we should probably get John Hoft's email or LinkedIn to you guys somehow.
Got it. Okay. But also, I mean, if you're you can connect with the brand through NP Excel or NP Digital as well. You just want to make sure people have a link to go to. What's kind of can we touch on the cost for kind of a white labeling service?
Yeah. So white labels, what we try and do is we create these bundle packages that are each like anywhere around $100 or a couple $100 each in like individuality. But then you can bundle them together and piece things together. So you may say, look, as an agency, I just need this, this, and this. I just want some links. I just want a little bit of technical work, but I don't really feel like I need the content right now. So bundle those two together. Let's offer that for you. Or for your customer base, you may say, look, I already have a content department because I'm a branding agency. I have the content. We can help write all that, but I don't have anything for technical. So I would love to grab some technical bundles for you for my 50 customers and offer that to them. So again, all of those, the pricing is all vary, but it's all around a couple $100 per bundle. As you piece them together, obviously they can go into north of several thousand, but it's just based on whatever you guys need.
Got it. Okay. And then Mario asked, so is schema like a JSON file with metadata?
Somewhat. So schema does fall under the umbrella of JSON. It is that full of coding. And so what we're doing is basically we're taking the existing HTML file of a web page, and within certain elements, we may go into a P tag and wrap a certain piece of information in that P tag in JSON to now show Google that this piece of information is more important. So an example of that is basically if I have a blog post with an author bio at the bottom, I will go into the HTML of that author bio. I would wrap it in schema so that I'm telling Google, this is not just text. This is author schema. So now Google can show in the SERP that this is a blog post, and then they'll pull in a little image of your author and maybe show the name of the author, where normally for all your competition on the search engine result page, it's just the blue link with the black text underneath. So it helps you stand out on the search engine result page so that your listing looks different. And it's also, like I said before, a massive ranking factor for Google.
Awesome. Matt, I appreciate the time. We went over a little bit, but a lot of value. What is your email so that people can connect with you if they've got additional questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So
hold it up right here.
Yep, you got the link right here for LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn under Matthew Santos. If you guys want to email me or reach out, it's matts@mpexcel.com. Yeah, more than happy to answer any questions that you guys have based on this presentation. Jason, thank you so much for having me. Super excited for what CrowdSpring offers.
Absolutely, Matt. Thanks. It was a lot of fun getting through this. Hope everybody got a lot of value from this. Again, little confusing NP Excel and NP Digital how they relate, but yeah, they've got a lot of experience doing this as an agency themselves, and they can help you through their white label product as well, or through referrals if you don't even want to mess with that. I think the key that we're taking away from is that our clients, whether we're handling that revenue stream as the agency owners, or passing that off to somebody else to handle, we've got to look at the full picture. That's really what this week has been about. When we talk about website building and brand building and SEO, we're talking about looking very holistically at our clients' sites and businesses to say, look, you're falling short here, because it will affect you. If you're in an ancillary industry, if you're in email marketing or SEO, clients aren't going to have the money to keep funding your projects if they're falling short in other areas. And so something like technical SEO or an ongoing link building campaign can certainly help bring in that revenue. So really appreciate you, Matt.